Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host, Usha Kumar. Today, my guest is Bruce Zboray. He has a very technical and scientific background, but over the years, he's been learning, teaching, and also writing books on kinesiology, and thereby he's trying to improve people's lives. And today he's here to talk about one of his books that explains what kinesiology is and that explains how you can improve your life. So please join me in welcoming Bruce Zboray.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Last time you were here, and I really picked your brains on what exactly kinesiology is. And we talked about a few of your methods. And we also kind of touched upon your books, but didn't really go into any of those. You wrote a book first with another person, Matthew, right?
Yes.
And what is the name of that book?
The book is Waking Moments, a guide to everyday spiritual experiences.
You live in the greater Danbury area, I would call it. You live in Trumbull?
Yes.
And you've lived here a long time with your family?
About 40 years.
Oh, that's a lot. Yes. During this time, part of the time you were a very technical person, in the sense you were in a technical field working as a software developer. And how did you get into kinesiology?
The main way was because I had a health problem, and I had just by accident been going to a Nature's Path store to get a supplement, and I met the person who set me on this path. And he was a person who was a clinical nutritionist, but had studied kinesiology also as one more way of helping people, because he, in turn, had a similar problem. He was technical, and he had a health problem exactly the same as mine, even more synchronistic. And so he showed me kinesiology, and so that's the pathway that I got introduced to knowing about this through someone who was helping me, and then he progressively helped me with my own health.
Isn't it difficult, with a very scientific bent of mind, you want to question everything, and mysticism is the last thing that one would be fascinated by when you're a scientist, right?
Depends on the point in the career where you are. Because at some point, it's sort of like Einstein. Einstein once said, there's two kinds of people, those for which everything is a miracle and those for which nothing's a miracle. And so it's sort of like one of the reasons why I went into the scientific area was because I was extremely interested in working on artificial intelligence, robots, things that would mimic the human biology.
I see.
And I ended up, because of just the way things turned out, to more or less become more involved in programming at a sort of systems level. So it's never the application level, it's always at the level of the infrastructure, the level beneath the level that things really work. And so that attracts me greatly in general.
Was it all into the architecture?
That's right, it was into the architecture of, at that time, a time-sharing system. And so we would run virtual machines. And so here we were making up this lower level layer that was acting as something that would produce all of this stuff at another level. And that idea, that kind of idea always fascinates and attracts me. The idea that there's something beneath what we're really seeing. That has always been something that's attracted me.
And so kinesiology was also a similar subject or topic?
Yes, because
in that respect.
Yes, very much so, because what it's saying is that here our body is giving us signals left and right if we want to pick them up. What what is good for it and what is not. What situations are good for it and what is not. So if a person is 100% in tune with their intuition, they probably don't need the kinesiology. But I don't believe very many people are really in tune, especially males, in tune with their intuition. And so kinesiology is a bridge to getting the intuition really, really up to speed.
I see.
And so when people sometimes go into a place and they feel that the vibration of the room, or the room feels funny, or it feels happy, they pick that up. Sometimes it's more subtle. Like, for example, the place where I sleep. Well, can I really put a number 1 to 10 how good that is? And yet I stay there a third of my life.
Yeah, a good 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours, right?
That's right. And so being able to say with kinesiology on 1 to 10, the energy in my room is at least, and I would count it off, I can see if the energy in the room is supporting my biology. And so it's really a fascinating subject to be able to, what it does in a way, the kinesiology, is it takes you almost like hypnosis without having to go into a hypnotic trance, because it gives you access to the subconscious level, to the level that says, I've got beliefs. So in other words, if something is bothering me, so for example, supposing I have trouble making money. Well, on the surface, the first thing you would do, without any of the things that I teach, which is in a broad topic called life energies, would be you would go to an investment broker or do something like that. But if you go a layer deeper, then you say, how many energies are conflicting with my desire to attract money? And you would count them off, and you would say,
what would be the examples of things that are getting in your way?
An example would be an early belief that you have to work extremely, extremely hard in order to make money. Yeah. There are other beliefs that say, as long as I feel that I am right now wealthy, that money will automatically come to me. This is the law of attraction. That will automatically come to me. Literally, I do not have to lift a finger other than believing and putting effort into saying that I am wealthy and picturing and feeling how it is to be wealthy. So an early thing in life is we're taught you have to work hard to make money.
Yes, that's what we were taught.
I know. But our teachers were taught also. And so sometimes it helps to question what we've been taught.
But I think, we were taught by our parents, and I think in our parents' generation, in their time, hard work did pay. If they really worked hard, their access to jobs or access to promotions, access to more money, everything was proportional. And they could directly correlate the two, which is why they taught their children, us, that if you work hard, you'll get it. But now, that seems to be the wrong thing to be telling our children, because I tell my child, and he tells me, you have the wrong idea. He says, no, you have to work less hard on certain things, and you have to only work hard on certain focused items, not on everything. So he really didn't, he argues with me every time I say you have to work hard.
Well, I can see where he's coming from, and I can see where you're coming from. I see both sides, and from his side, according to the law of attraction, and in a lot of other writings, spiritual writings, if you do what your heart is in, yes, the money will come. It's like the most important thing is to do what you really want, because then you're going to be, first of all, you're going to be healthy as can be.
You'll be good at that too.
You're going to be as good as you can be,
yes,
because it's not work. This is fun, yeah, and people happen to be paying me money for it too. They're paying me to be me. I mean, this is magnificent. So doing that, whether it's drawing pictures, painting pictures, or whether it's interviewing people, whether it's whether it's whatever makes the person happy, that feels that they are expressing the inner core of themselves. And that, I believe, is where the disconnect was happening with the parents. And in the old days, it was even a bigger disconnect, because if the parent was a tailor,
then you had to follow the same, whether or not you like it, or
that's right,
whether or not your heart is in it. Yeah.
So it's gotten better, and so it's almost like we're sort of at the next level of where that other stuff was, where the parent's occupation is the child's occupation. We're kind of like going now beyond that, which says, well, now we're following the heart. Before it was following, in some sense, maybe education, or maybe some sense an idealized goal or some kind. But now it's follow your intuition. That seems to me one of the most important things, is to find what really makes you happy and to go down that pathway.
So how does one find that? Is that in your book?
That is...
In the... I think you want to talk about the waking moments, right?
Yes, we were talking about the waking moments, but it's sort of like I taught mathematics for a year when I was right out of school, and then I'm doing some tutoring of math. And what I tell the students is, one student says, "How could anyone possibly know all of this geometry?" And I said to him, well, because the idea is there's only 7 or 8 principles.
Yeah.
Everything is a variation of those 7 or 8. So if you know those 7 or 8, you could almost derive everything else.
Yes.
And it's similar with this book, Waking Moments, and with the other books that I've written, and that when I teach, there's only a small set of principles. And so those principles, as long as, and almost everything is derived, can be traced back to those principles, or a derivation a little bit around those principles.
And we were talking about what are the obstacles in the thinking of a person's thinking. What are the obstacles that are preventing one from knowing what's their path or what they should be doing?
First of all, one obstacle is simply being introspective. Very often, people do not set time aside and do not understand the importance of just having some quiet time, just to analyze, self-analyze where do you really want to be? What, as opposed to being driven all the time by the next thing that's in front of you.
Exactly. Especially with the current information age and with all these smartphones, everybody is so tethered to these. And there's an information barrage of information, whether through emails or through these social sites. And it's just impossible to get through all of them, and then your time is all occupied by those. And really, it's hard to get some quiet time in the day.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And here's the book itself. So we need, and that's the lesson of actually having some quiet time is actually in here. There's actually a section called Silence.
Silence, that's good.
That deals with a way that we can
just use the time to think about, or just listen to what your body says, or your mind.
That's right. That's right. Because it's almost like, and this has been proven by doctors, that there are several intelligences in our body. There's the mind that we all focus on. We think that's the only intelligence, but there's a heart intelligence, and there's a gut intelligence, a stomach intelligence. There's actually an intelligence there. So even in the heart intelligence, there's many studies, many institutes that talk about the intelligences at the heart. There's a Heart Math Institute that's been around for maybe 25 years, for example. And so by opening up to not just feeding the brain, but listening to the heart to see what's coming, what it wants to express, that is, it sounds so simple, but it's like if you don't do it, you become like a robot, because you're always responding to the next email, the next Twitter tweet, the next everything, the next show that's on TV, the next everything that just puts itself in front of you all the time. It's like society is like competing for your attention constantly.
Yeah, I've read some biographies and then sometimes read stories of successful people, and there's one common thread between all of those, and that is all of these people, in spite of leading very busy and fruitful lives, they always set aside some time to do yoga or meditate, or just like you said, just have some quiet me time first thing in the morning. And they always do that, and they don't think about their work when they're doing that.
That is so...
that kind of improves their ability to think and make decisions, much better than before.
There's so much to say about what you just said. Tesla, who was a genius, would have time where he would just take a walk every day for an hour. Mathematicians would do that. When I was teaching math, I would tell them about the various kinds of mathematicians who would walk on the beach, just almost like just waiting for the answer to come to them. And an analysis of the best entrepreneurs are almost always right-brained. They're not logic. The logical side is the left brain. They're almost always right-brained. And indeed, people who lead large corporations, they are typically they come from the heart. They come from the heart area. They're like more intuitive, and it's the intuition.
Yes.
It's yes, they do need the analysis also, but it's the intuition that's the main focus.
That helps them make the right decisions.
That's right.
That are successful. Yeah.
And they need time. And now I can't remember exactly how it is, but I know there's some very large corporations set aside time, and this was even being done 25 years ago. Large corporations set aside time so that their employees could just have like half an hour or an hour to do whatever they wanted to do. We were exploring that in one of the jobs that I was at also, and I tell you, some of the best work was done because the person generated an idea that was not on the plan. It was like way out over there, but that's what was needed. That's what was truly needed. And so time by yourself is one thing. So that's one of the 7 or 8 or 10 fundamental principles. Another one is visualization. And each of these talks about, each of the things in the book talk about...
Yeah, you had these chapters.
Talks about things like that, how you can try it. Because if you don't try it, here's the thing. It's like if you don't try it, it's like having the best recipe in the world, and you tell everybody it's the best recipe, but you don't cook it, and you don't eat it. And so you got to experience it. And that's why it's so important to experience, even for 20 seconds, anything that's going to bring you closer to being more intuitive, being more open to the spiritual side coming out. And so the book kind of slices it down into very small sections of just for 5 seconds do this, just for 20 seconds do that. I mean, an example is very clearly that was working for me. One of the reasons why we wrote these books is because these things were working for us. We want other people to know.
I see.
One of the things that worked for me incredibly well was with traffic. It worked incredibly well.
What did you do?
If I simply said, then we'll analyze it in a moment, I give gratitude for allowing peace in the traffic.
Oh.
Now, first of all, I'm being thankful, which again is one of the 10 principles. Number 2, I'm putting in the present tense. I give gratitude for allowing this basically now. I'm not saying, please do this. I'm not begging for it. I'm not saying, maybe. There's no question. And there's now trust. Trust is another one of the principles. I trust that you heard me and you'll help me. And it works every single time. every single time the traffic will either clear up, the congestion will go away, the large traffic jam won't be there, even for the parking, I'll find a parking space, it'll work every time. And
yeah, so commuters can really benefit from this if they follow it.
I believe they can.
In the morning.
Just say, I give gratitude for allowing peace in the traffic, or peace in my transportation or my air flight. And so those things were working well. Other things that were working well is, if nothing else, just peace of mind when my children would go out. It would bother me that, are they going to be protected? And just visualizing them with a column of light around them and saying, I give gratitude for allowing protection for my children.
And I liked something else you wrote, and that was accepting your child the way he or she is,
That's important. That's really important, because
and that really takes away all the tension between the parent and the child.
That's true. That's true, because the children come in with a plan of their own, and the parent is there to help with their plan, and so we can guide, we can help. But one of the like, if I said number one of the most fundamental laws of everything in spirituality is, do not force a person to do anything. You can offer, you can suggest, but forcing a person to do something is, or let's put it the other way around. The best thing is always to offer a suggestion, even to a sick person, to offer health in your mind to the person, offering. If the person is just very, very angry and everything, in your mind you just offer peace to the person. Just offer them, in some sense, a little place in your mind that they're okay. That they're okay. It's like, I don't want to mold you into this, but I do want to help you go on your own way. I mean, the child, you want the child to grow in their direction that they're meant to grow.
Yeah, I think all of these make sense. A feeling of thankfulness, feeling of oneness with everything, and then you do not. At that point, you start accepting everybody the way they are.
Oh, that's
when
true.
there is the oneness. And I really spent a lot of time reading your book. It was lovely.
Thank you.
The best part of the book is that it does include all of the principles of all the great writers of this topic in this subject. Because I've read some books that were so difficult to read, they were too technical. I still read those, like the Hawaiian mystic.
That's right.
All of those were there, but you have brought all of those principles kind of in a simple way that everyone can apply to their daily lives and kind of learn it easily, almost like the Cliff Notes, but easier to read though, nicely written.
Well, thank you very much. That was one of the goals, was to make the information accessible. We actually thought of making small cards at one time to be called Enlightenment at a Glance, where you would just keep in your pocket, and if things got really hectic in your world, you could just take one of these out, read something that will uplift you in the moment, let alone the fact that the vibration of that thing is always sitting in your pocket and near you. And so,
we are using the energies, and we are just making the energies all be in harmony and be good with us, right?
That's right. The idea is to seek the path of least resistance, which all nature wants to do anyhow. I mean, the electron wants to do that. Everything wants to do that. And so to just make it so that if something's, like the food is a good example. You can get yourself all worked up and all upset that somebody is messing around with your food, the way they produce it, the way the animals are fed, the way the animals are kept, that they're genetically engineering it, they're doing this, that, and the other. But you can again bring peace of mind to say that when I sit down to eat, I'll reconcile all that and harmonize it right at that moment before I eat. So at least from my point of view, my world stays harmonious. So I bless my food. That's what we say that every night. Please bless this meal. That's all that's exactly what I say. Please bless this meal. And at first people in the family were a little reluctant for me to say anything, but now it's just expected. And that, with the testing, the kinesiology testing, shows that the food is harmonized. The food is truly harmonized.
We only have like a couple of minutes left. I do want you to tell me, how was the experience of writing the book? How long did it take, the first one?
The first book maybe took 3 months, maybe 3 or 4 months, because I was working with someone else, which in one way was very, very, very good, because we would, when one person like wasn't writing their week's chapter,
the other person
we would say, well, where is it? And
Okay.
so we would help the person along. So we were writing at a very definite pace, okay? And so we wanted to produce this and felt it was important. And at one point it was like, well, maybe we don't have enough. But then, you know, it seemed like, yes, there is enough here. This is. Let's do it right now. We're not going to wait another year. It's time to do it right now. So it progressed at a very rapid pace, and that was good. It was good because there was a momentum. There was a momentum to wanting to make it come out, you know, to come out very, very well.
What is the best help you got, and what was the worst obstacle you faced on that?
The best help was constantly using the kinesiology and sort of like opening up to an inner voice to say, you know, what should we do next? And I would hear, you know, a word or a phrase that would guide us. The obstacle was Microsoft Word.
Kept freezing on you.
No, it was just getting the formatting correctly.
Whenever I tried to sit and write any project, that's what it used to freeze on me. That was many years ago, though. Now they've gotten better.
It's gotten much better, but it's still awkward to do the formatting of getting the headers and the footers and the odd page, even page, because there's very technical things that if you went to a publisher, we self-publish, you went to a publisher, they would do all that for you. But you know, but there are certain requirements you've got to meet in order to publish a book. Like there has the ending of the book has to end on an even page, even if you put a blank page there.
The technical part was the worst.
Yes, it was getting that, because in some sense it was more.
We are out of time now. Thank you very much, Bruce. That was a wonderful explanation of your book.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. That was Bruce Zboray. Thank you all for watching. And see you next time.